I just pulled it up. It says the event will soon. Wait for the host to start.
Hello, welcome. All right. I believe we are live. We did our official countdown, and let me make sure everybody can see us because that would be most important. And give me 1 second. We want to make sure they don't see our countdown anymore. Just make sure we are good to go. There we are. All right. I've got many screens up today. Right. We are officially live. Welcome, everybody. We are excited today for today's conversation. I myself am going to moderate these two wonderful, good looking gentlemen in the blue. We are actually going to dive into our discussion today around maintenance and AI technology. Is it a tool or is it a solution? You may have joined us or seen in our post most recently. We had a conversation maybe almost a year ago now regarding AI and technology. And this is kind of a part 2 continuation of the ever evolving AI and maintenance in multifamily. So let's kick off the conversation today. My name is Jennifer Carter. I am the founder of JMC Multifamily Advisors. I am fractionally marketing for our industry and also the VP of Multifamily Media Network. We're going to dig in the next hour. Before I ask for some intros about our amazing hosts, who are also podcast hosts for the network, just a reminder, you can leave comments in the comment box, questions as well as we proceed through, and we will grab those as we move forward. So let's begin and toss it over to you, Chris, if you would like to give a quick intro and share anything to kick us off and get started.
Sure. Thanks, Jennifer. My name is Chris Caramanica. I'm a director of facilities with Wynn Companies and Wynn Residential. Been in the industry a little over 15 years, and I'm the host of Beyond the Work Tales in Multifamily Maintenance on the Multifamily Media Network. And Paul and I had such a great conversation with you last time, Jennifer, about AI. We decided to revisit it because, as we all know, AI is constantly changing. And we got to keep a pulse check on what's going on with AI for our industry, but for the country and world at large.
Absolutely. And Paul, how about yourself?
Thanks again. Wonderful to see you, Chris and Jennifer. I don't get the chance to talk to you guys enough. And I mean that sincerely. I am Paul Rhodes. I'm the senior manager of maintenance learning with Brookfield Multifamily Properties. I also am the founder of Directional Maintenance Services and been in the apartment industry for 30 years. Have multiple questions about not only the apartment industry, but technology, maintenance, and the use of all of that combined into a ball of let's talk about it and figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys are in the weeds. You guys are almost using or in the conversation of what we're doing in maintenance, right? So you're on the lines and working with those folks. So it's great to hear from you guys. I myself, believe it or not, was just at Blueprint last week. So going to kind of start from that perspective. It was super interesting to see regarding a prop tech conference that ideally, in my eyes, didn't always maybe bleed over to maintenance, but really it really had more than just general prop tech solutions. So really focused on hospitality, centralization, and really honestly had many conversations regarding maintenance, which I was a little surprised, but we all know maintenance is still a hot topic as we are here today. So what stood out to me was the technology will make a strong force to power the delivery. But really what it comes down to, I thought, was there was just conversation after conversation in the hallway about prop tech companies rolling out new platforms specifically for maintenance, which I thought was interesting because, there is a lot that we can do, but also in maintenance, we are very boots on the ground, right? We still need people. As I know of, there's no robots building the ability to fix HVAC, at least not yet. So, or any other kind of thing. So let me ask you this to start off kind of the dialogue on the conversation. And I'll open it to either of you to start, but would you agree that tech is a tool, not a solution? And perhaps you can maybe share why or why not.
Yes, I
Okay.
will. I'll start out. I think it is a tool completely, and I think probably the best illustration is the picture for our conversation today. It's a great picture for those of you who are attending or watching. It's a picture of a robot doing a maintenance job. But before you get into the robot, look at the toolbox. I would like for a human to please identify any of the tools that are shown in that toolbox. And that picture was AI generated, which I think completely proves my point. AI is a tool to do a specific job, but without human interaction or a human being putting that tool into place, it cannot be the solution that it reports to be. Just the refinement of that tool gets better through human use. The challenge is that if we look to AI to replace humans, then further generations of human beings will not have the experience or knowledge to be able to identify, yes, that is an actual wrench, it's an actual screwdriver, it's an actual pair of channel locks, or that's a weird thing, but it's got to be real because the computer says so, because we trust everything from a computer.
Yeah, but Paul, one of the things that has amazed me recently. So you see on cruise ships now, they have robots that are mixing drinks, and those robots are using AI, right? But that's a very fixed set of tasks, right? You're going to grab a glass, you're going to put ice in the glass, you're going to take, a certain amount of this alcohol, and you're going to mix it and hand it to a customer. I was recently at a restaurant where they have AI delivery robots that are replacing waiters. And the AI has mapped out the restaurant. The kitchen puts the order directly on the robot. The robot knows exactly what path it needs to take to get to that pre-assigned table. I think in our industry, in maintenance in general, there are not those predetermined steps that you can program an AI to do. If I have to unclog a toilet, there is a lot of hurdles to get from that front door to said toilet. Now, that's not to say that a toilet, plunging or a toilet snaking robot will not exist in the future, right? I'm sure within a year from now, somebody will have created one, right? But at the same time, there's too many variables when it comes to AI and robotics in general that, to your point, Paul, the human touch is always going to be there in maintenance. So the question is, how do we use the tool? Hammers were just originally hammers. Now, a hammer can actually do 4 or 5 different jobs. I know, Paul, you recently were talking about, we've all, been experiencing Swiss Army knives for decades, right? Those are multiple tools in one thing, but it's the end user that needs to know how to use said tool the right and proper way that will always have a need and will always be there. So when I talk about physical replacement of maintenance with AI, I don't think it's going to happen for a very, very long time. I think of more of it as a tool to be used as a solution for a lot of the issues that plague our maintenance professionals and in our property management companies and teams every single day. And that's what I'm looking forward to talking about a little bit today.
Yeah, that's great. So I think I hear at least, Chris, you saying it can be a tool and a solution. Is that correct? Or is that what you're kind of thinking, like to be able to have both?
Yeah, but you have to identify the problem first before the solution, right?
Okay, so real quick, because I think that's the kind of where we maybe falter or have the opportunity. Do you feel like, this might be a loaded question, but like, do you feel that there is a lot of options out there that are not finding the solution and just are a tool, right? Is that a fair question? Or
I think of it this way. So there's lots of prop tech out there that's using AI. There's training opportunities out there. There's companies that are put together training, which I think that's that is a good use of AI, right? Then you have a larger issue in our industry of centralization, right? We've been seeing it for years on the office side of centralizing leasing and marketing, and even accounts payable and things like that. Well, now the buzzword, and I apologize, but it is a buzzword, has moved over to maintenance, and we've seen that out of the various reasons. The biggest one, obviously, coming out of pandemic, we've seen staffing levels. We've known about staffing levels in the maintenance industry for 15, 20 years. We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
COVID punched everybody in the face and said, sorry, Paul, I'm going to steal it. Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. We got punched in the face and everyone's like, oh, we have a labor shortage in maintenance. It's existed for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we're seeing the birth of a lot of prop tech that's like, we're going to solve the maintenance shortage through centralization. And Paul, I'm going to let you speak, so I don't want to occupy the conversation. But that is a problem, but AI isn't the solution to that problem. There are many other problems with how maintenance operations run, how properties run, that there are way more benefits for AI usage than trying to figure out how I'm going to get a technician from point A to point B to do a work order. I think there's a lot more underlying there. So, Paul, let me throw it over to you. And what are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I will actually couch just short of saying that AI and technology is a solution. I will say that it's a part of the solution. Mm-hmm. Maintenance, as we've already discussed, maintenance at its heart requires a person with opposable thumbs or the ability to use tools to perform a specific task. And yes, I'm aware that there is right now a janitorial robot that is performing janitorial tasks in toilets in office buildings. But those office buildings are strictly controlled. It's unoccupied when they run around. Each cubicle is exactly the same with the exact same tasks being performed. So to your point, it's a very controlled environment, just like the cruise ship bartender.
Yeah, that's a good point, because not every apartment's the same, not every situation's the same, not every service request is the same, right? Like there's definitely a lot of variances or different things that can be happening.
Well, and I think to that end, it can be a part of the solution, using it, as you mentioned, Chris, as a portion of training, as long as you still have that human intervention. AI, and just to be, specific, AI is different than automation. Automation is where you've got essentially an if this, then that set of predefined decision trees or logarithmic. That is a computer. We've had that for decades, for ever since IBM and NCR started their own computer files. The AI, what's unique about it is the ability to pull from multiple sources, make different relationships in thought, in concept, in word, and the newer ones can do it graphically, and produce original works, thoughts by combining that idea into a different format. I mean, that's where that toolbox in the original illustration for this conversation came from. It looked at a wrench, a screwdriver, and a hammer, and the AI said, this is what it is. The challenge is, though, if it stops right there, and yes, I'm sure that was an authentic sound effect that the AI made when it did that. But the challenge there is, if we view it as a solution, then we take that picture and that picture becomes the new normal. That picture becomes the use. It still requires a human being, and it requires a human being with knowledge in that to say, no, that doesn't exist. Not only that, MC Escher wouldn't have even come up with this. So the portion of the solution in our industry right now, we have the availability of AI to go into a spreadsheet. Take your 5-6 past years' budgets for a specific property, have it pull out based on a predefined prompt for your wires. For instance, pull out of all of these invoices, all of these orders, all these POs that we did for the past 3 years, every time we order a condensing unit, did we order vacuum pump oil at the same time? because when you replace a condenser, you have to replace the vacuum in your vacuum pump. And if we did not, do we have a record of where that condensing unit went to? Because there's a good chance we didn't pull a deep enough vacuum, and that condensing unit will fail sooner than other ones that we did. So, that's an example where I think it could be a part of the solution, because there is no automation that could run through that and produce that. It would require that original conceptual thought to come together. So it can be a solution, but even that output would require a human being to go back and say, okay, that means now we need to go pull a vacuum on that unit, pull out any moisture that's in there, and do the physical tasks.
Sure.
And that last bit about the physical task, the human factor is not going away. The Department of Labor and when I was at the Florida Apartment Association 2 weeks ago, they had corroborating evidence that says the average age for a maintenance technician is continuing to climb.
Oh,
That means, according to Mike Rowe, for every 5 people that retire from a skilled trade, 2 take their place.
Right.
Wow.
That means we will, unless we do something, and AI is part of that solution to become more efficient. But at the end of the day, for every 5 people who run a toilet plunger, we're only getting 2 back. Add to that the number of apartments that we have coming online, and we're already in crisis mode.
Okay.
And we just don't have the apartments for us to realize that crisis mode.
Yeah, Paul, before we move on to the next topic, I want to, expound on what you said a little bit, the data piece, right? So we started this talking about, is it a tool or a solution?
Yeah.
The problem that we have is that we have data, right? Our management operation systems that we use, to put in work orders, whether they're, legacy or they're, a newer product, those are great. And they've given us a lot of data. What we don't have yet, which I'd love to see, is an AI to be able to look at that information, like you were saying, Paul, over a 3 or a 5 year history for capital planning, right? That's really important to look at. One of the things we're talking about when we talk about centralization, the reason we're talking about centralization is because we have a lack of people in the maintenance industry. Well, if there is AI out there, or if there's prop tech out there that will do a lot of what we are losing by those 3 people that we're turning over, actually 5, really, those 5 that are retiring, we're losing institutional knowledge. But we have the data. We're losing the brain. We have it on paper. We need somebody to look at the paper because we lost the brain. When you have that turnover, I know it's you and I haven't talked about this, but it was just kind of coming to me, is that we have now a replacement for the brain that nobody has found a solution for yet in the space.
That's exactly it.
Is that institutional knowledge of those 5 people that are retiring that you're not replacing.
And take that institutional knowledge of 3 to 5 years, and even if we take that out, think about the today knowledge, the legacy knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember you telling a story of going to a theater and not knowing where to find whatever it was. But then when you found it, you knew that. My guess is when you left that theater, same thing for me on a property. I find out where the photosensitive switch is to turn off the breezeway lights because it's been hidden up underneath the eave and a bird built a bird's nest over it, and I found it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm the only one who knows that. And then I get a promotion and I leave. So now the people behind me have lost that legacy knowledge, that institutional knowledge. So it's kind of twofold, I think, what you've identified. Yeah. One is the ability of somebody to look at the output of 3 to 5 years of trends, a T12, a T36, whatever it is. But at the same time, it's not just administrative, it's the physical asset. For the fact that, buildings are not built exactly the way they were drawn up in the architectural plans.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time that you discover that is when you get involved or look at it. And you have to have a physical person.
So it's
Um,
interesting because it seems like there's still a lot of opportunity to flush out, if you wish, no pun intended in maintenance, but what could come in the future, right? Like whether that's a new service or software or what that is. So to that point, right? And we've got some other things to kind of untangle here, but I just want to really quickly ask each of you, do you think then, although we have many opportunities to come, do you still think the space is too crowded now? Right? With so much trying to invest in the maintenance side of what the right solution is the space too crowded from your perspective? And it can just be kind of a quick touch. We do have a lot. But I'm curious as to what you might
No,
think on that.
I don't think it's too crowded. I think whenever you have new technology or new opportunity, everybody is going to rush in. And that's kind of what we're seeing now, and which is great because
Yeah.
maintenance in general has been an underserved industry, a piece of our industry for so long, right? So I was an early adopter of HD DVDs, right? That died. It died. Blu-ray won, right?
Yeah.
Somebody, I had tons of
That's a good
HD,
example.
the little maroon DVD
Yeah.
cases. And I was like, I'm not adopting Blu-ray. I put myself all in with HD and spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on DVDs. Now, yes, I know streaming came and killed that, killed Blu-ray as well, right? But the best products are going to rise. And the only way that you can do that is to have a competitive, flooded market,
Yeah.
right? And I think that, anybody that's listening to this or, they're working on projects like this, we need as many of these as possible. And unfortunately, as in any business, the ones that we're really going to be able to use and provide the solutions that we need are going to rise to the top. They are going to be the ones that become adopted. That is, I think everybody should be an early adopter of technology. I know, Paul, you and I significantly disagree on that, but you got to use it to figure out what you need and what you don't need.
Sure. So would you say then, Paul, the space is too crowded?
I don't think I agree with Chris, and I don't think the space is too crowded. I think innovation is not happening enough.
Right.
Meaning, at conferences that I've been to over the past year, honestly, all I'm seeing out of these companies that are producing the newest thing that they want me to give to my technician on a cell phone is just a representing of an Excel spreadsheet with a little bell and whistle here or firework here. But at the end, it's just an Excel spreadsheet. Yes, it is on the cell phone. And yes, maybe the user interface is a little bit different. I won't even use the word better or worse. It's just different. I get it. We need to collect data. We need to collect the information. And yes, I completely agree. It needs to be as easy for our technicians in the field to use as it is to put up on a dashboard or on a report or on a spreadsheet. But I'm not smart enough to innovate beyond that. But I think I am smart enough to identify that please innovate. Come up with something original that we just did, the T12, T24, T36 from a user standpoint on maintenance. I don't know of one that would do that right now, whether it's the big, OS management operating system or the smaller players. I don't know of one. My limited knowledge. I hope it's out there.
Well, kind of on that front, then I am curious if maybe you just touched a little bit on this, Paul, right? But with that, is there something that sparks you from being, I'll say, in your area of expertise? And I consider both of you on the ground because you're seeing and working. Chris, we talked earlier this week, and you were dealing with a flood, right? So you're on the ground, hands there, right? And Paul, you're training and working with these folks. Is there a problem that you would like to see a new solution to, right? That we haven't. Paul's like, hold on now. Is there something that comes to mind?
I would love to see a solution, and I don't know how. I would love to see a solution that would put importance on par of the maintenance needs with the office needs. I visit too many management companies and too many properties, and this has been an observation for years, that the office works in its own silo and it does things its way, and the maintenance team works in its silo and it does things in the maintenance way, and our traditional chain of command goes on the maintenance side through the maintenance supervisor, but it reports to the property manager. But the property manager admits that their knowledge is lacking where maintenance is concerned, but due to reasons, whatever the reasons are, there's missing communication between the way maintenance does things and the way office does things. And it seems, I admit, playing the victim maybe a little bit too much here, but it seems like the decisions for the office get placed above the needs of maintenance. And, well, with one exception, whenever there's a problem, it seems like there's a higher volume level on the discussion to the maintenance side. Again, maybe I'm playing victim. I want that solution. I would love that solution.
Yeah, well, Paul, I'm going to give you one. And I think that something that affects both sides of the business, I'm going to give something that gives, and it's that time of year. It is October 1st as we're recording this, right?
Yeah.
So it is budget time, and that affects everybody, right?
Yeah.
You got one side writing the budget and the other side going, well, what do we put in the budget? Right? What I don't see yet, and the solution that I would love is, I've spoke about this before, about using AI for scopes of work. And we talked a little bit about, budget trending, but okay, I should be able to plug into be able to plug into AI some keywords, some prompts, and say, I want to remill my asphalt parking lot and restripe 150 spots. What is the average cost in my area? Not a Google search. A Google search is very different from using an AI generator, because it's getting a much different data set. It's pulling in various things. That's what I'd like to see, especially for budgeting, because that has an equal maintenance and, office or maintenance and operations effect that affects you year round. And I'm not seeing AI budget, prop tech yet. And again, much to your point, Paul, it could be out there. Jennifer could be out there. I might not know. And I'm sure I'll get a flood of emails after we record. But the thing is like, that is, critical, because that is every year. That is what's going on, not just looking at your trailing, but what is the industry? What are we seeing in the industry? Insurance rates going up. We're seeing cost of goods going up. AI theoretically has access, not even theoretically, has access to all that information. We just know how to ask for it. And maybe a prop tech solution is, to refine that data or provide those prompts that you could easily get information for budgeting purposes.
Recently, Mike Brewer, had a real quick prompt about marketing properties to where you take your cell phone. I think he was talking about the newest iPhone or one of the cell phones. And you take your phone and hold it up to a building. And what does that live stream feed picture, whatever it's called on the iPhone, what does that say? And from a marketing and intentional perspective, how can we adjust that? I've got to think that, to your point, we have data. Not only do we have data, it is continually being updated live, because to that end, that goes through, in that case, Apple's servers and their brain.
Yep.
There should be, and I hate the word should, but there should be a way of taking that. Just 30 seconds ago, somebody pointed it at my building, caught some of the parking lot, to see and identify the potholes, identify the grinding opportunities, the replating opportunities, and heck, go one step further. Be able to pull back invoices from your property for when the last time it was restriped, resealed, retextured, redone. Combine all of that together to give you a potential scope that, and here's where I'll go back to part of the solution, that you give to Chris so that Chris can review for accuracy and make sure that it's not giving you a price to only park motorcycles in. a priced only parked RV Winnebago's in. So you've got to have that piece in there. But that would be an interesting piece, and the technology is there.
So, okay, so we've kind of talked a lot about all different aspects. I want to shift and see if you guys have any perspective. I think as an industry, and I'm very call it resident obsessed, right? Like I always am interested in making sure the resident experience is great. And I'm not even sure we touched on this a little bit even the last time, but thinking about the residents, we're always talking about and maintenance techs and that, technology and helping them. Do you perceive that all of this is impacting the resident at all? Do you feel like it's a positive thing? It's a negative thing? Do you feel like there's any dotted line correlation? And there might not be, but I'm just kind of curious, as our business, we ultimately are serving a resident. Are we serving the resident to the best of what they are looking for, or are we doing our residents a disservice maybe by any types of adding technology? And I could be way off. So please, you can, I always say pound sand to my questions or ideas.
I will actually give you a complicated answer. The first half of the answer, which is the simple part, is technology working for our residents? Yes. When, to kind of go back a little bit to our earlier discussion, when it's predefined and exact. I mean, if a resident needs to pay rent, something as simple as pay rent, take money, input it in the books, deposit money. That's it. Easy step. Where something is predefined and exact, I think technology is great. And there it can make it efficient. The complicated part of the answer is what happens when one thing goes wrong? How many hurdles has our ever increasing push towards efficiency placed in the face of our resident when there's a problem? I had this in my own life. My trash service, they, for whatever reason, didn't go through with my automatic billing for this month, this month. I tried to reach out to somebody to find out what happened because nothing changed on my end. Credit card, all of the things, everything was still the same on my end, and it didn't go through. I went to the website, no phone number. I went to the chat bot that was there, typed it in. All it gave me was web page listings based on keywords. I went to Google and typed in phone number for trash service. It gave me a 1-800 number that gave me an option for a callback, because otherwise it was a 2-hour wait on hold. Call didn't come till the next day. And when it came, they wanted me to verify my account information, but they refused for me to verify that they were who they said they were. And all of this in the name of efficiency and technology. So to our residents' standpoint, if it is a simple operation, I think it's great. That frees up the time of our leasing. There's some things there that we could capture for our maintenance. I have no problem with that until it goes wrong. If there's one thing that goes wrong, I do think that we are understaffing for complications to where our staff now, we've taken advantage of efficiencies everywhere we can, which has or is beginning to result in a reduction of headcount. I don't believe that our complications are good enough yet to warrant the reduction in headcount, which means that if our residents are challenged, if they're frustrated and they can't get a human being to solve that frustration, it's only even worse, especially if all you get is a chat bot that just give you keyword answers. But I have no opinion on this topic.
Okay. Chris, do you have any feedback on that, or you feel like Paul kind of might have covered all of that one for us? He did the job for us.
I think he covered it. I think I'm exhausted, but no, I'll when I say I'm going to have a short answer, I'm actually going to have a short answer.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I don't think it should affect the resident experience at all. I think especially for the maintenance side of the business, it is to make properties, jobs easier and maintenance techs easier. The only thing that the resident should see is to know that their work orders are getting done faster, that they're being done accurately, and that is a result of AI, not a direct correlation of using better software or better prop tech or even AI solutions, right? We want to provide service. That's our job. We are service providers. And the minute it is not providing them better service, it's not worth it. How was that? That was a short answer, Paul. That's what a short answer sounds like.
I agree with the last sentiment of, if the technology is not providing service, then go back to people.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We do have about 15 minutes, and I want to make sure we get to everything. Is there anything that you guys would say is a must-have that you would want to share? Or maybe even Chris, you want to throw something to Paul, or Paul throw something to Chris, maybe catch each other off guard a bit in regards to maintenance. And maybe there's even a prediction. We did this last year. We're doing this again. I mean, we could definitely see some swift changes, as more come into the space in 2025. Kind of an open-ended, loaded question, but is there something that, and I'll leave it to you, Chris, first. Is there something that kind of is top of mind that you might want to even throw to the audience or to listeners, or maybe directly at Paul?
Yeah. I'm going to throw it to Paul. I'd love to hear your thoughts as a trainer for the number of years that you've been in training. And we've seen the real advent of some really great training training software out there, right? I know it does not take the place of a live trainer, but where do you see training going? Because as we have a labor shortage in our industry, which we've already, talked about, and a labor shortage for maintenance technician also is a labor shortage of trainers, right? The more people we lose, the less knowledge that we're passing along. So for me, I think training is filling that gap. Not completely, but it's not a replacement, but it's filling a gap. I'd love to hear what some of your thoughts on that, Paul, are. Because that's a big space right now.
Right now, that is. It's a big space. And to your point, getting bigger. It's getting bigger both from the standpoint that we have a generation that is starting in the maintenance industry that doesn't have the skills that I had. I mean, I'm Generation X, to your point of going through the changes that have happened. I can remember being in school and having a shop class, having a home economics class where they taught me how to cook. I actually learned how to sew in middle school. In high school, there was a program that was there the first year I was in high school that actually built a house using code and spec. It was carpentry, and then that program got taken away. My daughter, her school had 0 trade skill classes. And not only that, the generations in between mine and the generations that we have now, Gen Z, are not as handy. I can remember the first time I was in a class, CAMT class, and I talked about grabbing a pair of channel locks and adjusting the supply line going to the fill valve in a toilet. And a guy looked at me in class and he raised his hand and he goes, "What is channel lock?"
I was going to ask the same thing, but I don't know if I could do that.
And that's kind of the point. It was I had the same reaction in my mind that when we were going over fan blades and whether the fan blade turns clockwise or counterclockwise. A guy in class asked, "What does that mean?" And I said, "Look at the face of a clock," and he held up a digital watch. Right. And he did, and he was genuine in that. So to that point, it's not a bad thing, but there is ignorance where trade skills is. It's not a bad value for a person to be ignorant. I'm ignorant all the time. The
Starting
real
at a different
challenge
point.
that we have from a labor standpoint is we have a lower level of common knowledge where trade skills are concerned right now due to our trade background. I grew up
Yeah.
holding a flashlight for my dad walking on a car or doing things. My daughter held the flashlight for me when I was on call. So she's
Yeah.
at least had that exposure.
But to bring it back, Paul, that's where I see many of the benefits of training, that computerized training, right?
Yes.
It is what is clockwise? And as ridiculous as that
I know
sounds,
it sounds very level entry, right? But
what's a slip joint plier versus a vice grip, right?
Yes.
Like there's a lot of things that you could do there. There are some things that are being taught in school that do translate, like Ohm's law, electrical. Some of that stuff is being taught in science classes, but it's figuring out how to apply what they may already being taught in school while not trade specific. How water flows, how electrical current is carried. Those are things that are covered in, some of our base STEM classes.
Correct.
But to translate those into,
that's it.
You need a piece, and maybe that is more online or virtual, AI-based training.
I was exactly
so
what I was
folks
thinking.
like me and you could take, okay, so now you got some school knowledge, you got some real life experience, and then really we can layer our in-person trainings on top of that.
Yes, I agree with you. I do think, as much human and interpersonal training as I am, go figure, it's job security. But I do believe there is a place for e-learning. I think that place begins with compliance. Who in the apartment industry has never attended a fair housing e-learning class, probably given by the same company? We all have. Compliance, being able from a liability standpoint for an organization to be able to say, I have over the course of 6 weeks given my entire staff the same knowledge and validated their internalizing that knowledge, that's where e-learning shines. I also think that it could do a great job as an introduction to the skill, as long as the focus is the skill, not getting to be able to use and run the app better. And that's where that transitional knowledge base goes in. So yes, I do think technology has a place in it. Problem I have, or the challenge to that, is that technology is, at the end of the day, it's an easy answer. It's a quick answer for a management company, for an owner to say, hey, we've got a high amount of plumbing this month. We need to fix that. The easy answer, throw some money at a plumbing electrical learning class, plop a maintenance technician down for a half hour, an hour, 2 hours in front of the computer, and call it done. We have responded. The problem is taking that half hour, or 2 hour plumbing training and then sit them in front of a toilet and see if it affects. There will be an effect.
I was going to say that, like, we need to make sure we're investing in our people, like supervisors on site. It's like spending the extra 5 or 10 minutes now will get you back 20, 30 minutes maybe later, right? Because you're investing in your people on site. And although everybody's busy, right, doing what they're maybe supposed to be doing, right, or filling out those service requests or completing those, I would think as a leader, right, and I hate the word supervisor, but as a leader or a colleague, taking 5 to 10 minutes to show somebody what to do is going to have a tenfold ROI down the line, right? Is what I'm kind of, you guys, to your Paul's point, you want to maybe start with the basics of using an AI software or a training or something like that, but there still needs to be some mentoring, right? That's
I
there.
wonder, you bring up an interesting point. I wonder if our staffing levels, properties, have kept the same given the need for our maintenance technicians to begin at a lower learning curve. Meaning the standard 1 per 100 that we have, that we go by, that is still valid in some places. And for more information, I got a podcast about it. But blatant marketing, watch out. But if we have a challenge that I have heard for years, back when I was with HD, back with NAA, no, we don't have time for training. We're understaffed. We have an inspection. We've got to move in. To your point, Jennifer, are we as leaders staffing appropriately, or are we placing a high enough emphasis on skills development so that the employees we want to have developed actually see us pushing or giving them that time or following up with, you were in class yesterday, what'd you learn? Show me.
Well, because remember, if everything's important, nothing's important, right?
Correct. That's exactly right.
That's a great, right? It's like, you got to figure out what's actually important. So I do want to close out with, circling with the AI and humans, and we've got all of this noise almost in maintenance, right? If you were to try to clear the noise, and the next, we'll call it, I'd say year, but I feel like I should say 6 months instead, because things change so quickly. But what is either one thing you think, you would like us to be at, or where do you think we will be, let's say, in 6 months to a year? Either of those. Do you have any thoughts on, from the maintenance and your position and your experience, thinking and knowing where we've been and kind of going in the future?
Yeah, it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I want maintenance professionals' jobs to be easier because they're hard enough. And I think some of the solutions that are currently out there are not to make maintenance professionals' lives easier. They are to make the purchaser or the decider, we're going to help your, work tickets reduction through centralization. We'll go back to that for a second, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Is that really making my maintenance professionals' jobs easier? My gut tells me no. It is making it easier for a property manager or an owner, but I want solutions that make maintenance professionals' lives easier. And in turn, that makes, if a maintenance professional is happy and they're engaged and their workload is
reasonable,
rational and normal, their property manager and owner's lives are easier and their residents are more satisfied. We're the meat in this resident owner operator sandwich.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see in the next 6 to 12 months is somebody to present something to me where the first question I ask is, how is this going to make my maintenance professionals' lives easier? And if the answer starts with, well, your property manager or your owner will X, I don't want to hear anything else. I really don't. I want to hear give me a solution, give me something that makes their lives easier, that makes them feel more engaged, that makes them feel less stress, because they have a tool, to go back all the way to the beginning, in their tool bag now that they didn't have before. And it is not because management says that we should use this software because it makes, reporting faster or it makes budgeting easier, even though I know we talked about a couple of those things. It's about making that person's life, that maintenance professional's life, no matter where they are in an organization, whether they are a porter or a senior director of facilities.
Yeah.
That whole spectrum, show me how it's going to make their lives easier. That's my feeling on it. That's what
I'm going to get you the easy button. Okay.
Yes. I have it. Hold on.
Oh, well, okay. I'll get you a bigger one. Maybe it'll spread out a little bit better from that perspective.
I completely agree with you, Chris. I know you're asked, Jennifer, I know you receive calls all the time of, I want to run an idea for a solution, a thing, a platform, a stack, a whatever at you. And I've gotten to the point now to where my first answer is, look, I want the easy button to where whatever it is you're selling, give me one step to push and it's done. The easy button. And everybody laughs and then they pitch and I don't know, I give some answer related to whatever it is. But my actual answer, Jennifer, to your question is twofold. One, what I would love to see, and I admit it is completely and totally fantasy land based on our current situation. Make it to where I don't have to remember a stinking password every time I need to go do something a little bit different than what I'm currently doing, or enter my fingerprint, or do it. And no, I'm not getting a QR code tattooed the back of my hand or something like that. So I know that's fantasy land, but you asked. The closer to reality thing is 6 months from now, I would love if we finally, as an industry, began moving from reaction and got at least closer to a preventive stance. I would love if, as an industry, yes, some properties, some people in the audience now, you're railing it at me, yelling, I do change my filters. I check the T&P valves. I do the batteries in the smoke detector. Great. How about if, as an industry, we actually budget with prevention in mind? That way we can move one step further, which here, Fantasyland again, a year from now, we're no longer talking about preventive. We are into proactive and replacing things while they still work at their predicted end of life. Those are what I would love to see.
All right. Well, you heard it from these two right here. Maybe we'll come back in 6 months and see where we're at. Maybe there'll be a tool or a solution or one or the other that will fix all of your wants. Maybe. I appreciate y'all's time today. It's always fun chatting with you both. I've learned multiple things, including clockwise and counterclockwise for the fan, which is very helpful. I know how to do that. Yes, I see that. Yep, exactly. So I appreciate y'all's time today. And let me do a quick thing just before we go. Does either of you want to give a quick note on where anybody can find you as they listen to this recording, which will be out on Spotify, YouTube, and all the other various places? I'll let you go, Chris.
Sure. Please feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. Also can email me at beyondtheworktales@gmail.com. And please check out a new episode of Beyond the Work, Tales in Multifamily Maintenance every Thursday on where you listen to podcasts.
Absolutely. Fantastic. How about you, Paul?
You can reach out to me again through LinkedIn, and I think that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of any of us for whatever. I do have a website at directionalmaintenance.com, which you can contact me there through. I will be at Emma, I believe, is the next public speaking engagement next year.
Public. Okay.
Public speaking engagement, but I do attempt to make it to as many conferences just because it's a great place to do exactly what we did here. Talk with people who have different thoughts, and at the end of it, hopefully go out and enjoy a beverage or a meal or just a fun time and learn something new and get the opportunity to think of something new. So yes, always open for any and all of that.
Fantastic. Well, appreciate y'all's time today, and take care, and we'll talk to you soon.